Well, Nancy, thank you so much for doing this conversation. I'm talking today with Dr. Nancy Buck, and she is an educational psychologist, with a lot of experience dealing with parents and children and the whole journey of how do we raise healthy, happy, wonderful children, as well as a nurse by profession initially. So with those pieces of background, it's especially nice to talk to you today. And so, Nancy, having done Prime Potential, it's really wonderful for me for people to talk about their experience. What was it like? And also to start with what actually was going on that prompted you to reach out.
Hmm.
So, would you start there?
I'm happy to start there. I'm happy to be with you, Lynn. I'm more than excited and happy to share my experiences with Prime Potential. It has actually, I was going to say it feels like, but it's more than a feeling. It has expanded my life, my professional, personal life. I hate using this expression, but I'm now at a whole new level of living. That's just extraordinary. It truly is extraordinary. Just a wee bit, I don't want to get too much, I'm happy to get into the weeds, but may not be as interesting to others about my journey. I had been living my life pretty well, been pretty satisfied. There were a couple of dramatic shifts that had occurred. One, I had moved from the East Coast to Colorado to be closer to my children, their families, mostly my grandchildren. Everybody knows that and admits that that's the truth of it all. I also had gone back to working as a nurse. I started my professional life as a psychiatric nurse, and when I came to Colorado, I was looking for employment, and I knew I could get employed there. It was worthy work, and it wasn't my work. So it was okay. I felt good about it. I was getting the money that I needed, and knowing that I was doing worthy work. At the same time, I have had an internal drive to do my work probably most of my adult life, which is why I went on and got my PhD in developmental psychology with a specialty in parenting and educating parents. While I was here in Colorado doing some worthy work, I got injured, and that put a big kibosh on my physical health. I was bedridden for 4.5 months. When I was finally able to get up and move about, I still had some things that I was struggling with. One, I remember telling you that was deeply saddening to me as I lost my smile. I'm back, but I'm not fully back, but I'm back better. And I also had pretty continual dizziness. So I couldn't get my footing. I couldn't really be steady in the world. That was actually physically true. It was also metaphorically true. So I reached out to you, Lynn, to say, because I know you're a brilliant woman, you have been a kind and generous colleague and friend, and I knew you'd have words of wisdom. And that's when you said, let's do Prime Potential. And I said, great, what is it? And you said, trust me, it will make a difference. And because I do know you and love you as a colleague and admire you as a brilliant woman, I did trust you. So you and I got together via computer because I was in Denver and you were in Canada, and it was the way that we could connect. Aren't we privileged to live in a time when we could do our work together, even though we're geographically, we're not necessarily compatible. So that's what, and I didn't have, if I had specific goals, Lynn, I don't remember. I knew I wanted to regain my health. I knew I wanted to regain my vitality. And I also, because I'm the age and stage that I am, I was frustrated and about to give up on doing the work that had been driving my professional aspirations and really my personal goals in life. I was close to giving up on it. And I didn't want to give up on it until I took the final, let me give it one more hurrah to see if that might do it for me. And I'll wait to tell you, but the end of the story is, and howdy.
Yes, I remember certainly the physical pieces were part of it. The dizziness, I think you described a tight band around your head, but also how it had undermined, I think, your sense of confidence in your ability to navigate the world, to be employed in the way you wanted. It was just having a compounding effect.
Yes.
And so, what were the early shifts that you experienced after doing a first or a second session? Can you recall those?
I can. One of the ones that just totally surprised me, my posture improved. And now I never had in my consciousness that I needed better posture. I just went around and lived my life. And I don't think anybody would look at me and say, oh, that woman, she has bad posture. I wasn't aware that my posture was not as good as it could have been until it got better. And that's when I said, oh my gosh, I'm standing up straight and I'm leading with my heart. So my shoulders, my whole body was, I know I'm doing it as we're talking. My whole body was more upright. I was looking forward and I was leading with my heart and my shoulders were back. And again, I was unaware that my posture needed improving until it improved. And that was truly such a happy surprise.
Yeah.
I also know that my dizziness and the tightness that was going, I call it a crushy head, because that's what it felt like. But that improved. It didn't get all the way better. It just got better, and I was aware of that. And beyond that, I don't have a recollection of. I felt good. I felt better. And I thought, okay, my goal was to be a neutral observer of the changes that were made or that were occurring. And again, the one that was the biggest was my posture. Really? What does that mean? And I didn't know that it meant anything. I just noticed it, and I was pleased by it.
Yeah. One of the things I remember is in relationship area, because I remember you speaking to me about how you'd interacted with your two sisters. And there was a shift there that also sounded like it really pleased you.
Definitely. Again, see, it's been so long that I forget what it was like now that it's been in the better place. So, and again, without going into great detail, I learned at an early age. I created the story that I learned at an early age, that my job was to take care of my sisters first. I was the youngest, I still am, the youngest of three, and somehow I took on this job, that it was my job to help my mother take care of my sisters. And I would love to tell you that it was my loving heart that led me there. It was not. It was my calculating 3-year-old who thought, if I can help mom take care of these annoying sisters, she'll have more time with me. So that's how I configured it in my brain as a 3-year-old. And I didn't know that. It was not a conscious any knowing at all. It wasn't until you and I started doing the work together that I realized, wow. And so I stopped taking care of my sisters ahead of me. I didn't then become a grumpy, grouchy, I don't care about you sister. They were just, and I can't even remember some of them, but my one sister would ask me for something and I would say yes if it was convenient, and I'd also say that won't work for me, let's find another time that's better for me. I wasn't working to accommodate them first. I was stepping front and center in my life.
Now, I know people listening to this will be wondering, and how did it go over for them? Were they upset? Did they notice?
Yes, both of them noticed at different times. My eldest, She was pretty oblivious in the beginning because she's always been my second mother. And since our mother has passed away, she has been the one that tells me what to do. And so she doesn't ask as much of me. She tells me.
Hmm.
And I did more, probably more subtle, thanks for sharing, I'll figure it out on my own. But I don't think I ever said it that directly.
Mhm.
I just was going on in my own little calculating brain. My middle sister has been a person who's turned to me for help more often. And I would, and she noticed almost immediate, something's different, Nancy. You're willing to help me, and you're putting more boundaries around that. And again, she didn't express it quite that forthrightly, and yet she noticed. And she wasn't offended. She wasn't upset. She was actually enthusiastic
Great.
that I was finally taking care of myself before I was taking care of her.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I see the sunlight. You must have wonderful sunlight in Denver.
We do. Let's see if I can shift it some. Oh no, I see it myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great. Being in Vancouver, we're always jealous of the sunshine.
Yeah. 300 days of sunshine a year here in Colorado.
So lastly, then over time, have there been any other shifts that have shown up that you've noticed that are noteworthy for you that you'd like to share? Just
profound, absolutely profound.
Mm.
So I was doing one of these jobs I was doing that was worthy work. I didn't take care of the company or my boss first. I took care of me first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the way I did life before. No, I never, I was never, I was never loud and pushy about my needs. I don't even know that anybody I worked with would know that I did it differently. I knew I was doing it differently. I knew that I would say, no, I'm not doing an extra day. You got somebody who called in sick. I hope you work it out. This is my day off. I need to take care of me. I'm working a limited number of hours on purpose. So I'm not working a limited number of hours to then work those hours that I have off to make it better for you. That's your job, my boss, not my job. And again, I don't think anybody would know that except I knew it. One of the ways that I knew in the beginning, when I first got that would be asked, and I'd say no and feel very guilty. And then it's like, well, what am I feeling guilty about? Oh, I'm taking care of me first. That's not the way I've done life all these many decades. Ain't that cool? So then I got more enthusiastic about saying no. Because I knew that was an authentic muscle that I was using, and I wanted to use it to get it stronger so that there would never be a time I would have a second thought. The time I might do it is it was convenient for me and I wanted a little bit more money. I made the decision based on what was best for me and nobody else in the equation. And that was just extraordinary, Lynn, just extraordinary. And there were some other organizational things, organizations that I'm a part of, that I would be asked to do things. And my old way would be, of course, I'll do what's best for the organization, because ultimately that would be better for me. And I knew that was the pattern I had started at age 3. If I did what was best for the organization, it may or may not be better for me. And I needed to start with what's best for me. Now, this is sounding to me like I'm very selfish and I'm very me-oriented. And I can't tell you that no one complained about that. I just knew it felt different and better.
Right.
Ultimately, there was a job that I was in that where they wanted me to bend too far, and I was unwilling. And I stood up for what I thought was best for me and best for the job. And ultimately, I was invited to resign that job, and I took them up on that that invitation, because I knew I was done. I was not going to be working in that place. It didn't help me, and it didn't help anybody else. So we parted ways. And then I wondered what I was going to do. And I was talking to some friends, including a woman I played tennis with, who said, I think you might do well working in where my daughter works. And I said, well, where does your daughter work? She said, I don't know. Or I know where it is the name of it, but I don't know what they do, but I know you'd fit there. And lo and behold, oh, that's right. It's a place where I get to do parent coaching, the thing that I studied, the thing that is my passion, the thing that has been driving me and forward towards my life's goal. I got the job, and an organization that is beyond better than I could possibly imagine. I do take care of me. I was initially didn't want to work too many hours because I wanted to make sure that it didn't drain me from energy. Lo and behold, I worked way more hours than they were paying me for because it gave me energy. It never drained my energy. And ultimately, we just recognized that I was working more, and they acknowledged that and paid me more and said, you're such an awesome person. We're so glad we have you here. It was a job that was never advertised. However, when they saw my resume and they knew what it was I did, and they went to my website, they said, we want you to come and work for us. So it was beyond imagining. It's what I said initially. I'm now doing my work. I've put me first, me in terms of my goals in life and my goals of what it is that I want to be able to say the contribution I made to the world. And that's just paid off extraordinarily. There's a couple of other places, again, where some hobbies and some relationships where the same kind of thing has occurred. I go back a little bit and wonder, had I known what I know now earlier in my life, would I have made different decisions? Probably the answer is yes. Do I regret the decisions that I made? Absolutely not. I just know that life would have gone differently, but then I would have found it something else. I mean, I that's not how I live my life. I don't live my life backwards.
No.
So,
but if you had a word because younger people do approach me about this work and so on, what would your words be to them? You know, people in their 30s, 40s, in terms of perspective.
Don't wait, run. Because there was an internal barrier that I had, and again, I had created this at age 3, and it didn't. I mean, some of my preconceived notions that it might have been because I had bad parents or had bad circumstances, or none of that was true. It was simply an incident where my sister vomited on my face, and my mother went to take care of the sick sister before she took care of me, the one who had vomit on her face. And that perception of what mom did was the trajectory of where I moved forward. Oh, we take care of others before we take care of me. It was an accurate perspective for a 3-year-old, but not an accurate perspective from anybody else. And that belief that I created I can see now, look back and say that pattern repeated over and over and over. And I wish I had learned it sooner, but maybe not, because if I'd learned it sooner, then who knows? Among the many things I do think, I wouldn't have had the wonderful children that I have had I maybe made different choices. So I don't regret it. However, I would say anybody, and I think it a lot actually, with the families that I work with now, and with the teenagers that I work with now, and the young adults that I work with now, I wish they could all have the experience that I had, to have a different perspective about being your authentic person and letting that person shine.
Well, and that's what I think, it is about belief, but it's also about really viscerally connecting with who you authentically are. That's what, when you embodied that, that's what brought your shoulders back and your heart open, because that actual authentic you was able to now shine.
And the job my ideal, literally, I mean, that this is sincere. I have been seeking this job for 45 years. The very first job I had as a professional woman when I graduated from college was working in an intensive outpatient milieu. And it wasn't called, none of those things was it called then, because it was 45 years ago. And when I got to the job, that was not what I thought it was in my head. And 45 years later, that's my now readiness to say I'm ready came to me. And I was wide open and ready for it. Even the interview process was very excruciatingly slow, and I didn't care. I was not pushing for it because I knew all that would happen is they'd get to know me better, I get to know them better, and we would clearly see that this was going to be a match or a mismatch. And whichever way it went, I was okay. I would be able to also see them and say, yes, I can be my authentic self here and I can shine. Or, nope, they say that, but that's not what they actually do. And I didn't have such a clear ability to make the choice previously. And now I have 100% clear ability about yep or nope. And it's not about anybody else being wrong, or it's not about the other. It's about, can I be truly me in this space,
Right.
In these relationships? So I say, who wants to wait to do that later in life?
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much. I think this will be great for people to hear, and also people will resonate with that. So I deeply appreciate you, and I am thrilled that you are doing the job you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
All right.
And I appreciate all that you continue to do, being my partner in co-creating our lives together, Lynn. Thank you so much. And thanks for asking me to share this information.
You are most welcome. All right. Bye for today.
Bye.